We all spend a ton of time in meetings. That's no news for any of my fellow solopreneur, entrepreneur, or group organizers. That's just a fact of life. Whether it's in person or it's online, meetings are meetings. And we need to take notes, and we want to be able to refer back to what conversations were had and all that. And traditional note-taking methods have been there forever. If you're online, there's certainly the option of doing a recording, although sometimes that's not optimal to get results. But what about when you're in person, right? I really want one solution that's going to work for everything. So when I started seeing this kind of device online, I got curious. Now there's different shapes and sizes of these things out there now. And it's like sort of the next generation of like the old school, like it started out with like a tape recorder, and then it was, a soft online one. But the benefit of this type of device is that it connects to an app on your phone, and that way you can get transcriptions and you can get summary notes and that type of thing. They're all pretty much the same, small device, thin, lightweight, some sort of connection. Some of them have extra features, like this one is supposed to charge your device. It's sort of like a backup battery. That never worked for me, but that's okay. I didn't want it for that. But I was curious. So as is my way when I get a new device, I use it hard for a couple of weeks because I need to be sure that the money I've invested is going to pay off for me. Now, the user interface on this, at first glance looked pretty simple, right? You've got this little switch here that's the on off. This is a weird position for me for this one because the only purpose for this is if you're going to do the charging. So I don't know why it's front and center. That seems like that should be like out of the way someplace for a device that's like focused on recording. And this is the button that you hit to start and stop your recordings. And then this is a tiny little screen that shows you things like the amount of space left on the device and, in theory, the state that it's currently in. So you get this, you may have to charge it to get it rolling. It comes with, your charging cable and a very short little manual. And then you've got to take it and you've got to put an app on your phone and you've got to connect them. So it's a Bluetooth connection, which we all know Bluetooth has issues. So I tried this. I was doing it for in-person meetings. I was doing it for online meetings, and it does a great job of recording the audio. I will say better for one-on-one type of situations. When you've got a group meeting going, people with softer voices, people with an accent, people on a bad connection if it's a virtual meeting, not such a great result. But in general, it does the job. It does what it's supposed to do. Then what you do, you can do however many meetings, during the day that'll, as long as you've got the space for it. It does have a lot of space. Then you can connect, using Bluetooth, this to the app, and that's where the magic happens. Inside of the app, that's where, once the files get copied over, you can have it do the transcription. That was a manual process, a couple of clicks. Like you had to click a button and it would do the transcription for you, but you had to select. So like if I did like 8 meetings in a day, I would have to do it for 8 files. I also noticed like if there was enough of a pause in a meeting, sometimes it broke the recording. So 8 meetings could become 16 depending on what was going on. But in order to get the transcription, you'd have to tell it, okay, go ahead and do the transcription. Then if you wanted it to do things like, meeting notes and summary and that type of stuff, that was another click. You had to pick the type of summary you wanted and then tell it to go ahead and do that. Now, this one does come with other features. You're supposed to be able to do like, chat rooms kind of thing. You can do supposedly live transcription as well. I didn't even get a chance to try that because I was using this for about a week and the short version of the story is it's going back. So let me tell you why. The first thing that was a problem, I already talked about like this button's in a weird position, but okay, I can get around that. The other thing is when I started doing recordings, especially because I was new to it and I wanted to make sure it was working. And the point for me was the fact that like I needed to be able to rely on this to take the notes so I could focus on the meeting, especially when I was running a meeting. And there's 2 icons that show up. One is a little play button and the other one is a pause, like the 2 lines. So my brain, and this is going to be different for other people, but for me, when I glanced down on it and I saw the pause icon, I would have to reverse engineer that. I go, okay, wait, so if showing me pause, that means that it's playing, which I don't need when I'm running a meeting, right? I don't need that extra friction. The whole point of this is to remove friction. So the deal is when it shows you the play icon, that means that when you press the little button here, it's going to start recording. And then when it's recording, it's showing you in this window here the pause icon, which means that when you hit the button again, it's going to pause the recording. It's going to stop recording. Yes, I understand that, but for me, it was a problem because I had to keep thinking about it too much every time I went to verify it. Again, something I could have gotten used to. The reason it's going back for real is because while for the first few days it wasn't a big deal. Okay, so when I was ready to take the files and move them over, you have to every time, like you have to open up the app, make sure the device is on, and then you had to hit a button to connect to the device. Bluetooth is a weird thing. I would have preferred an automatic connection, but fine. I did that. And then it would copy over all the files, and then I could go through and I could make a decision for each one what I wanted to do. Then about day 4 or 5, that stopped working so well. And sometimes I'd have to restart the app, or I'd have to shut this down a couple of times and then restart it to get the connection. And then once I had the connection, everything went fairly smoothly. Until a day 8, when this refused to connect to the app at all. Wouldn't do it. So I went through all the usual troubleshooting. I do this for a living. I knew all the things to try, and it just refused to see it, no matter what I did. And their support, sadly, was useless. Well, I tried 3 times to contact them, and all I got were automated replies. I got no help. So then I'm like, okay, well, we've got this. And I did know that, you could manually move the files from here to your computer. So I tried that. I took the files off, and then I sent them to the phone to see, okay, well, maybe I can get the app then to open them, because the app is where you do all the extra features. The app will only take the files from the device. It won't take it external. Like, you can't go and select it. Now, maybe they'll fix that at some point, but right now I'm just, for $170, I'm not waiting. So that for me is a fail, because at that point it's like I'm already having to jerk around with this too much. It's not reliable in the way I need it to be reliable. Now, all that said, that doesn't mean that it's not a good device. It's certainly a good concept. And there's a bunch of different ones out there. So it could just be that, it might work great for somebody else. So I'm not saying don't look at it. I'm just saying, be aware of what you need, like what's important to you, which features are important. And then, like I said, if you're going to get something like this, really work it hard, like the first week or two, so that if you find either that it doesn't work for you, like from a workflow standpoint, or if it's going to fail on you, you want to find out early so that you can return it still while you're still in that window. For me, right now, I'm going back to the Google Recorder. It's not perfect either. I can do a different video on that. But I've been using it for a while, and it gets the job done. It does the recording. It'll do the transcriptions. It doesn't do summary and all that kind of stuff. But frankly, I don't really need that. I just need the text so that I can go and do a search. If you still wanted to do, like if you wanted to use that kind of an app on your phone, you could absolutely, take the output of that and run it through some AI. Just make sure that it's okay, because not all meeting notes should be in an AI engine. Whole other conversation. So yeah, I was curious. I was optimistic. This is going back, but by all means, your mileage may vary. So I'm just sharing my experience so that you've got a little more information for your decision-making process. And I would love to hear from other people. If you found one that actually, like rocks your world and is doing everything you needed to do, please let us know. If you find this kind of content interesting and you'd like more, please make sure you do the things so that I show up in your feed again. But either way, thank you for checking this out. Bye.